love that. Someone came up and shared an image with me, and I really appreciate it. I usually say this, and I feel like the Holy Spirit used her to remind me to say this. Just the beauty, we talked about a lot of different instruments singing one song, right? But like she said, I think it's even a more beautiful image to think about pieces of a puzzle. Because if you think of yourself as a puzzle piece, there are indentations, there's places in me that are weak, that I feel less than. And there's protrusions in me that I maybe feel stronger. And the temptation as a human person is to think I am less than because I'm not a perfect piece with it all together and having everything. But if I had everything, I would not need the gift that you are. But when the piece of you that is what I am missing comes together with me, and then the person here, and the person here, and the person here, and the person here, there is a feeling of completeness. And there is a beauty that cannot be established or seen or experienced alone. And isn't it beautiful that we are a body and that we need each other? Important to keep in mind. Okay, so now I'm going to do in this section, a brief overview of the charisms. This is brief because you're going to study, and this stuff you can study for quite some time. But I do want you to hear the words and some specific characterizations of each one, differentiating them from another one. And then when Jill comes, and over this year, you're going to study more in depth about these. And there are a couple in here that maybe she doesn't have. You'll hear them elsewhere, Okay, so the first one we're going to talk about is the pastoral charisms. These are the ones that are care of individuals and communities. Encouragement, helps, hospitality, mercy, and pastoring. Now, I'm going to say that unfairly, there is a preference, especially in the church, that we have to charisms like this. Like we can put a lot of emphasis on these charisms, and people that have other vital charisms, like organizational charisms or other types of charisms, may not be seen as true gifts of God. Like the pastoral charisms really do get the God feel. But in truth, we must remember that every charism, which may seem more practical and less of the heart, nonetheless, they are all a part of the building of the church and for sanctification. All right, but we're going to focus in here on the pastoral charisms. And as you hear these, I want you to think of people, like not only yourself, but many people in your life, and perhaps how these particular people are an image of God to you. They are a breath of the Holy Spirit. They are a gift to you. And one of the things that is really important when we talk about it's the body who knows often before we do. There's something really important that when we do notice someone's charism, that we sincerely let them know how much we appreciate them. Because if you have a charism, so you're a breath of God, that God is blowing through you to the other, and it's not for you, it's for the other. And they don't show any signs of appreciation. It's like you didn't receive a receipt. Not that we give to get, that's not what I'm talking about. But there is something true, good, and right about someone loves you with the gift that they are, and for you to say to them what that is to you and what that means to you. I always see it as two sides of the lung with the heart of Jesus in between. I breathe his breath through me to you. You receive it and breathe it back with an affirmation, a sincere one. Everybody hates flattery. I hate flattery. But a sincere acknowledgement that you are a gift that doesn't take away from who I am. I don't have to be threatened by your gift. And if I tell you I appreciate you, that doesn't take away from who I am. That actually we all get built up. Without acknowledgement, actually the person can somewhat suffocate. And you see people who give and give, and they're sincere, and they're surrounded by people who are not very life-giving, and you hear the expression, sucks the life out of me, and that's real. And so sincere affirmation and acknowledgement and gratitude to someone who blesses you for God, on God's behalf, is really important to acknowledge. All right, so the charism of encouragement. And like I say, these are charisms, these pastoral charisms you're going to see a lot, especially within the church. A person with this charism is an expression of God's love and nurturing for his people through his or her presence, very presence, words of encouragement and counsel. They have the ability to see the truth and call it forth. People with this encouragement just see good, naturally. We're all called to see good. And that's the thing you're going to notice with the charisms. As Christians, baptized in the Spirit, confirmed in the Spirit, we all have the gifts of the Spirit. We all have them. But there's a difference between, and we'll talk about like intercessory or prophecy or things like that we are all empowered. But there's a difference between that which is part of our baptismal vocation and part of it that is a charism. It's that next level of supernatural charge. So it has to go with that person's particular mission here on earth. So we're all called to give words of encouragement, right? We're all called to be a presence of God. But there is something about the person who has this charism, and this is the true sign. The person leaves feeling encouraged. The person truly leaves feeling uplifted and encouraged. And the person is not exhausted by it. I've often heard it say about this charism, someone who this charism is probably my strongest, is the place that you're the most at home, and when I heard this I could relate to it, is inside somebody else. Like listening to them, being in, like it's no problem to set myself aside and to go into your story and to just find a home within your heart and to see the beauty in there. People like spiritual direction counselors, although they don't have to, it doesn't have to be a career that in any way is identical to that. You can find people with the charism and courage in any job, any ministry, any walk of life. Okay, hospitality. This charism is a breath of God's Spirit within the soul that impels a person to be a vessel of God's welcoming and inclusive love, caring for and welcoming God's people in needs of shelter, food, and friendship. Like, they kind of have this sense in them that all are welcome here. Okay, did everybody grow up and there was one house that everybody kind of hung out at? Everybody? Yeah. Are you that house? Yep. You know, people that have this charism, like we said, the body knows on them before they are. In every neighborhood, there's that house. There's that mom that everybody ends up at their house. Right? And it's not the person with the nicest house or the neatest house or whatever. It's like nobody really cares. There's just a feeling in their home or sometimes in their heart that you just feel at home and that you're welcome and that you're at ease. And the person with this charism feels that as well. Like everybody's welcome, the more the merrier, come on in. You can drop this, the person you can drop by their house, or the person that you can call spontaneously and you know they're not going to feel put out, because they always seem ready to receive you. Okay, the charism of helps. Now this is a tricky one. And it gets mixed up real easy with other charisms like service, or even the type of person that may have this charism. The person with the charism of helps is an expression of God's goodness by using his or her talents and charisms to be of assistance to other individuals or a particular mission to serve God's people in ways they couldn't do without them. So, I will tell you, one of my dearest friends who works with me in ministry a lot, teaching and what have you, has this charism. Literally, I could not do so much without her. People with the charism of helps feel very attracted to a person or a particular mission, which is different than service, so pay attention to that and pay attention in your own time. It's a person. I feel called to serve that person and their ministry, or that mission and their ministry, okay? And they really prefer not to be in the limelight, but do not be deceived. A person with the charism of helps can very easily be confused for leadership, because in and of their own right, they are extremely talented and strong. They're not weak. They're not the wallflowers just going in the background because, oh, that's the place I like to be because I'm kind of timid. Nope, that is not necessarily true by any means. And very talented in and of their own right. But their heart feels very alive when they are supporting someone else's mission. So, like, you could think about that, go, well, who really would want to do that? People that have this charisma, that is their happy place. And I have found with guiding people that have this charisma, they have to be discerning, because they love so much and they love to see people's missions succeed, and they're so capable. They have to discern. God is not calling me to help everyone. And they'll get in trouble with that. Same with encouragement and anything else. We can get in trouble if we don't discern, okay, is this the person I'm supposed to help? So as I guide people using their charisma, so we're going to help them to learn, okay, you feel impelled to help that person because you have the charisma. But we need to pause and pray, is this your person? Is this your mission that God is hooking you up with? Okay, mercy. This charism is an expression of God's love that gives one sight to see and the desire to serve those who are in need through practical deeds of compassion that relieve the distress of those who suffer and help them experience God's love. People that have the charism of mercy, and the difference between them and encouragement, because on the outside it may look the same. Okay, say we have a friend that dies. You have a friend whose mother dies or father dies or something. And a group of friends go over. The one that wants to sit and talk to the person who's grieving has the encouragement. The one who says, come on, she needs the house clean and she needs dinner on the table. That person probably has mercy. It's that same heart. Like, this person's in distress, and I am compelled to serve them. One is with practical deeds, and the other is usually of the heart. So, Mother Teresa, of course, is our perfect example. We have several children in our family who have the charism of mercy, and I can see they're just so different than me. It's the poor, it's the downtrodden, it's the person who's, their desire to go practically help someone in distress is just so beautiful. Right? I was with a priest friend of ours and we were walking into La Rosa's, and I didn't see it. This is the difference too. I didn't see it, and I'd like to consider myself a person with a pretty good heart. I walked right into La Rosa's like, where's Father Thomas? There was somebody on leaning up against the wall. I didn't even see him. Father Thomas is down there talking to him, trying to give him something and help him out. It's like, there's the difference of mercy and encouragement, right? It's almost like their eyes can't help but see that somebody is in need, and I got to do something about it. Okay, pastoring. This charism is a breath of God's Spirit within a soul that empowers them to be an effective channel of God's love and build Christian community. They are an incarnation of the desire of the Trinity for communion. People that have this charism are essential to parish life.
Motion detected in the backyard.
The difference with them, and we'll see in other charisms, is that they have the capacity to bring people together in a very deep and meaningful way, but it's largely because they know each individual person. So they're kind of like the center of the wheel. They know, okay, say we have a small group, there's 5 people that come together, and this person's the ringleader. Why? Because she knows and loves this person, she knows and loves this person, she knows, and she knows how to bring them all together to form a community of love. They're connectors. And it is that whole, like, it expresses the heart of the Trinity who wants to gather, Scripture tells us the Lord desires to gather us all into his arms. He desires for us all to be one. This person reflects that heart of God. Okay, so let's talk about communication charisms. So we're going to think of, if we think of the pastoring, or, the pastoral charisms, they're like the heart of God. These charisms I would consider like the voice of God. So the charism of evangelization. So a person with this charism is able to share their faith with others in a way that draws others to want to follow Jesus and become members of the church. Okay, so you're going to see, as I bring up every one of these, well, we all should kind of be like that, right? We should all be like that. We should all want to encourage people. We should all want together. We should all be welcome, right? But there is a difference between we should all, as part of our Christian identity, and I would not debate that, and people that are supernaturally charged with this charism. People with the charism of evangelization truly are looking outside the fold, not just looking within. They seem to have an eye for the lost. They seem to see who's a little off, and their heart goes to them. And this is the person that if you have this charism, you would probably say, or you probably know someone, it's like, I literally cannot be in their presence without talking about Jesus. Like, even if I don't bring it up, people cannot be in their presence without talking about Jesus. They just are like a lightning rod to drawing people into the Lord. And you can see this in communities too. Right? And this is the person that often, if someone is fighting God, they will fight them. But they'll be the first person once they discover a relationship with the Lord that they're going to fall. All right, the charism of teaching. Now, different than, like I said, many people can teach. But not everybody has the teaching charism. So what is the difference? Okay, who can say, look back in your history, who has had a teacher that you go, okay, that person had the charism? Like they could make things make sense that you could never make sense of. Somehow they said things and they just magically unlocked. A friend of mine hated math. We were in the 8th grade. We had Miss Good as a math teacher. And Kelly, my friend, went into teaching because of Miss Good. She said, math teachers always made me feel like I was so stupid. And then I went into Miss Good's class, and she got a teacher with a charism. And she goes, all of a sudden, I realized I wasn't stupid. I understood it. Now that is the sign that the person has the charism, that they are able, it doesn't matter if they like to teach or love to teach, The true sign of the charism is for the body is, does the person learn? Do things make sense that couldn't make sense before? Or do things expand that once didn't in their minds?
I have a question. I'm sorry. So there's like lots of teachers out there that are like this that are not part of the church or not believers or Christians. So what's the, I mean, you said before that a charism is for building up of the church. So
Right.
what about a teacher that, like, I don't know if Miss Wood was part of
Yeah,
the
she
church.
was.
Okay, but as another teacher that was not part of a church.
Isn't there a beautiful mystery in that? So like God can still blow through us when we don't even know, would be my simple answer to that.
Say it again, sorry.
That God is, I mean, every human person, God is sustaining their existence whether they know it or not, right? And so even the fact that they can teach and have that joy in their heart, they are experiencing God within and through them, they don't even know. Of course, as they come to know, like we talked about, as they come to know the Lord, they heal, they have an intimate relationship, all of a sudden they're going to realize, that's what that is. And all of a sudden it's going to be so much more powerful when they actually plug in intentionally to the light socket, right? But that is a beautiful mystery to think about, yeah? Okay. So let's go to prophecy. And we've talked about this a lot. I know in the experiences that y'all have had, they're called to be priest, prophet, and king. So everybody can have moments of prophetic word and whatever. And yet, there are people who have the charism. And it is different. It is different. Now, it does not mean the efficaciousness of a prophetic word that someone has or whatever. I heard a priest talking about, he said, I know I do not have the charism of prophecy, and God does not use that part of me that often. But I was in the confessional, and something came out of my mouth, and I was like, I felt the power as it came out of my mouth. I never thought that a day in my life, and the person in the confessional was blown away. And it's never happened since. So that would be an experience of the Lord using this very open soul for a prophetic word for a soul. Now, people that have the gift of prophecy are a little bit different, as they're more consistent in their life. And they are a breath of God's Spirit within a soul that enables the Christian to be a channel of divine wisdom by communicating a word of call to God to individuals or groups through inspired words or action. Now, when I learned this stuff, and I will say what I have experienced in the spiritual world and in the world of communion, is people with this gift have to be exceedingly humble. Exceedingly